maybe we'll get going. Thanks for coming today. And the main topic today is going to be how to digitize your old photos, slides, and negatives by myself. I go by Tom, PC Guy Kreuzer. First, a little bio about myself. I have, or used to have the personalized license plate. I had that for like 40 some years, and then finally decided I didn't want to advertise it that much, so I no longer have it. But I'm the son of John Kreuzer over there, who lives here at Carondelet. I worked for 40 years at 3M in their information technology. I'm an officer and presenter for the 3M Personal Computing Club, so I still do presentations, and all the presentations that I do here I give to the 3M Personal Computing Club, and so I reuse my presentations from area to area there. I offer free computing help, and I know you've got the free people to come in on Tuesday and Thursday, which is very nice, but if there's any other questions or stuff like that, certainly you can contact me, and I put some information on the sheet here on the back, email and that. I mentioned to people that I am thrifty, I'm not cheap. If there's a free software to do something, or inexpensive way to do it and an expensive way, I'm usually looking for the inexpensive way there. Our next topic, I usually have a topic every month. Next month it'll be on smart TVs. So if you've bought a TV recently in the last 5 to 7 years, chances are it's what's called a smart TV. And there's lots of things that smart TV can do. We'll talk about what it can do there. Also, along with my brother-in-law, who's over by my dad, Gary, and my sister, we put on a Fix-It Clinic, where you can bring small appliances, lamps, electronics, jewelry, and we try and fix it there. And the next Fix-It Clinic will be July 25th from 1 to 3. And the first part of July, usually they put up a sign-up sheet, and so you can sign up for a slot, bring whatever you've got that's broken, or if you have a question about it, and we'll try and answer it for you. The information that I'm presenting today, the handout and the video, because I am video taping the screen itself, that'll be available, and I make that available out at the Carondelet website. So if you go out to the Carondelet website, there's a section called Tech Help, and there's a calendar out there, and then resources are these past meetings with links to the video and the handout, and links to contact me in that. So if you're familiar with the Carondelet website, you can go out there and contact me or look up information. So let's get to our main topic, which is the digitizing old photos, slides, and negatives. This I can't stress enough. Don't let your memories hide from you and from everybody. So you're really hurting yourself by not having the stuff digitized and available, because you just don't pull the stuff out to look at it. You can't share it with everybody. It's a bad situation there. So don't let your memories hide from you and everybody. Digitize them so that they can be viewed anywhere, and that includes anywhere in the world on any device. So you don't have to have a computer. If somebody has a tablet or a phone, or we've talked in the past about Alexa devices with screens, those can show your photos. You can share your photos on almost any device that has a video screen. You can be sharing your photos and making them available. Don't keep them hidden away in albums that you look at every 10 years or on slides that you no longer have a projector to show. There's no better time than now to digitize those and make them available. This we talked a little bit about earlier. Don't be overwhelmed by the task to digitize. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with that first step. You can start with a single photo album and then you can go from there. To do this, you usually need a multi-function printer or scanner, works for scanning photographs. So if you have photographs and things like that, and we'll talk more in detail about that, that works great for photos. And the slides, there's these devices like I'll be showing to scan slides and negatives. Over the last 20 years, I personally have scanned and organized for our family 15,000 images. So this isn't even the images that I've taken with new digital cameras or my phone. This is old images that I've collected from relatives, I've collected from yearbooks, I've collected from a variety of sources, all these images that I put out there. And they're of my family, and it sounds like a lot of images, and it is a lot of images, but I enjoy creating it and sharing the photos because everybody they can then enjoy it. You can pay services, and if you're familiar with Astound, they're a little store down on Cleveland Avenue down here in St. Paul. They charge between $1 and $2 for each digital image. It can get very expensive, especially if you've got hundreds and thousands of photos. And the fact of the matter is all they can do is scan in the images. They can't organize it for you because you're the only person that may know the people in the picture or the event in the picture. And so to organize, that usually takes a little time and effort to put that stuff together, and we'll talk about that. So if I would have had those 15,000 images, if I had gone to Astound there, that would have cost me between $15,000 and $30,000 just to scan the photos. So again, I'm thrifty, I'm not cheap, but I don't want to spend $30,000 to get all these photos and that. So what do you need to scan? Well, for scanning photos and that, you can use basically any personal computer printer. Most of the printers nowadays are what are called multi-function printers, meaning that they can print. They obviously can print, but they can make copies or they can scan. And personally, I have Canon. This is the model of Canon. I bought this. It looks like a pretty big machine there, and it's a laser black and white printer. Well, I paid $210 for it back a few years ago, so they aren't real expensive there. And all of these multi-function printers, you can scan photos one at a time. So you put a photo on the top where you do the copy, you push a button, it scans the photo, and then it can store it out to your computer. So it's pretty painless to do that. The issue is if you've got 50 or 100 or 200, you put one on, scan it, put the next one on, scan it, and you're going back and forth there. Some of the printers or scanners like mine actually have a paper feed on top here. So up here is a paper feed. I can put a stack of photos. So if I have a stack of 25 photos, I can just put the stack, I can say scan these, and it'll scan them one at a time and load them onto my computer. And the scanning, it's scanning at a good resolution. We won't go into the details there, but it's a nice crisp resolution there. And it can scan any photograph or artwork. So you may have some artwork or a document or whatever you have. It'll scan up to 8.5 by 11 inches. Now you may have photographs that are bigger, or maybe they're in a frame, or they're artwork from when relative or somebody was younger and they made it in first grade and you kept it all these years, that may not fit into the scanner. Well, one of the things you can do there is you can use your phone or digital camera to take a photograph of that artwork or framed photo or whatever you have, and there's actually applications that'll make it easy to do, and they'll reduce the glare. If there's glass on the picture, it'll get rid of the glare. It'll do automatic edge detection, so it'll crop it properly, and it'll rotate it in the right direction. So for these bigger images, it makes it real easy to capture those and get a digital copy there. The third way to capture or digitize some of these images is if you have slides and negatives. And I mentioned I use this. It's called a pile, is the name of the manufacturer there, but it's a 22 megapixel film scanner. It'll work for slides and film. They sell anywhere from $60 to $100. The quality is very good there, and it's very fast. Most of the time that you spend is spent organizing or cleaning these slides and negatives before you stick it in. But what you get with a unit like this is you get a bunch of these holders, or, well, let's go through here. So this will work with slides and negatives, or black and color or black and white. It'll work with 35 millimeter film. It'll work with 126. It'll work with 110, and it'll even work with Super 8 films. You can take an individual picture off of a old film there and digitize that. The camera is capturing it at what's called 22 megapixels, which is a high quality image there. The display has a 2.4-inch display on the front, so as you put in, let's put in stuff in here, and let me set it. And you probably can't see it, so it's kind of a small image here, but if you were up closer, you'd see that there's a picture of the slide now showing up in there. And so this gives you a little preview, and basically the way this works is you get the preview to where you like it. You press one button, so it's like taking a picture. You press one button, and it says save, and we do OK, and now it's captured that image. Now we move on to the next slide. And the way slides work in this case is you just slide them in from the side here, and so in goes one, out goes the other. We move to the next slide. We take a picture, we do OK. Now we scanned a second slide, and you just continue on with your slides until you have all of them captured there. The nice thing is it's all self-contained. This is not plugging into a computer, so you don't have to have a computer to do this. It just puts it on a little memory card, and this memory card can be taken out of here and then loaded onto a laptop or another computer, any other computer there. So the images are saved in what's called an SD card, and that can be used on a Macintosh, a PC, or whatever device that you're really wanting to use there. The other thing, if you're going to be digitizing this stuff, is you do need some software to let you edit and organize the files. And I'll be talking about the packages that I use, Google Picasa and Google Photos. These are free software and free services that I use. But there's all kinds of other services. We'll talk about a few other options with it later on here. So now we'll talk about some tips if you're going to go through and start scanning there. the first thing that you should do is you may want to delete. If you've got a bunch of slides, not all slides are worth keeping. So you do only want to keep the slides that are important to you, that you aren't duplicates of other slides and things like that. So you want to go through your slides and certainly keep the ones that you have good memories about and stuff like that. But if the quality isn't that good, or you've got multiple photos of the same thing, don't scan them. Because again, nobody likes to look through boring slideshows or thousands of pictures and things like that. So you do want to pare it down. You do want to organize your photos, and that's usually by at least a year and a month before you scan. If you have them in albums, they're probably already organized somewhat by chronologically when they were taken or that. But if you don't have them, if you just have, let's say, a box of slides and they're just all random, you do want to organize it before you start digitizing. And the nice thing about most slides is, at least slides from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, almost all the slides have a date when it was processed. And that's also true of your photographs. A lot of them have a date on the back, or when the photos were made there. Not necessarily when they were taken. So if you had a roll of film and it had 36 exposures on there and you used it for 2 years, you may have Easter from one year and Christmas from another year and a birthday from so on. But it at least gets you close to the real date when the item was taken there. And even if you don't know the exact date, give it your best guess. You can always change the date later. And as you start showing them or sharing them with friends and relatives, maybe some of them will remember, well, this was a photo from this event or from this year, or because of the age and the size, it looks like it's from this time period. So there's usually lots of people that can help you out trying to figure out the date in there. As you start scanning and getting more and more of these photos, if you've already got a bunch that are already digitized and you're getting some, let's say, from a sister or a brother or another relative, you may end up with duplicates. So over time, you'll want to get rid of those duplicates. And there's actually free software out there. I use a package called VisiPix that'll look through your photographs and compare them and tell you which ones are duplicates. So that can be very nice. I mentioned here, clean the scanner glass of dust and fingerprints. There's good cloth that you use for glasses and things like that are very good for cleaning the glass, and I recommend cleaning every 30 or 40 scans. Also, it's a case of if you're scanning photos and you're putting it on the glass, you want to make sure that your fingers really don't come in contact with the glass, if at all possible. So I'll put it on and then scan it, and then to get it off, I use the next photo to kind of lift up an edge, and I can lift up an edge instead of getting a greasy fingerprint on the glass, and then that might affect the quality of the scan there. And then if you're dealing with slides and negatives, you want to be really careful too, handling them on the edge, or maybe using white gloves. And if you're going to do a whole bunch of them and you want white gloves, you can buy white gloves from Amazon for $1 or $2 a glove there. When you're doing slides and negatives, you want to clean the images of dust and smudges before you scan them. And that's where, if you have a can of air or a brush to remove any dust that may be on the slides and negatives. We'll take a little look later. You can clean up some of that stuff after, but it's best to make sure that before you scan, you get rid of as much dust and lint or anything that might be on there. when you're dealing with slides and negatives, there's kind of one side that is shiny and another side that's dull, and you want the dull side down. Otherwise, if you scan it, the image will be kind of reversed. So if there was lettering or a store name in there, it would be backwards. So you want to make sure that when you're scanning the slides and negatives that you don't have them reversed there. This is just a little indicator. Once you get kind of used to scanning and things like that, I can scan about 200 photos in an hour or 60 slides or negatives in an hour. So again, if you have thousands, you're not going to get it done in one night. You're not going to get it done in 1 week. It is going to take some time, but bit by bit, you can get your albums done and get your information digitized there. If you have the original negatives, so let's say you have photographs, but if you do have the original negatives will scan, if you have a scanner, and that'll produce a better image than scanning a photograph like this. So most people have lost their negatives or don't have it organized. Then maybe all you're going to do is scan the photos and not worry about scanning negatives or that. I mentioned here almost any scanner will do for photos. So if you have a multifunction printer, or your son or daughter or anybody has a multifunction printer, all of those have scanners built into it. So any of those devices would work for scanning, and they're all capable of at least 600 dot DPI, which stands for dots per inch, and they can save the images at a high quality. It takes a little more size, file size, but you do end up with a high quality image. Also, in addition to photographs, you can scan documents or awards, artwork, old school papers, drawings, yearbooks, newspaper clippings, anything that you've got. It helps with the whole story and capturing memories there. So in addition to the photos and that, certainly collect anything else that you may have. And if you have an album, especially the old or the albums with the plastic, shiny plastic, you want to take the photos out of the album to scan it. That'll give you the clearest picture there. I mentioned here that some scanners have a document feeder, so that printer that I have, I can put a stack of up to 25 pictures in it, push one button, and it'll go through and scan that stack of 25. So I don't have to put one in, scan it, put the next one in, scan it, put the next one in, scan it. So that can be faster and save you some time there. If you have really old scrapbooks or that, frequently they're taped or glued in the scrapbook. You can scan the entire page if it'll fit into your scanner, or you can use that app to take photos of it to capture that image. And the important thing here is you want to keep that page flat against the glass so you get the best quality picture. Yes? Yeah, the question was, what happens if your photos are different sizes for an automatic feeder? Usually what you do prior to putting it in is you're telling what size to scan. And so if you know that you have, this album has like 3.5 by 5 inch photos, you'll just scan this size. If you know that it has bigger, you can have it scan a bigger area. And then you'll see when I go in and edit, I usually do cropping, and so I take out. You don't want to scan too small, so you want to accommodate the largest photo that you're going to have, but the scanners could go all the way up to 8.5 by 11. to scan. But if I know that all my photos are 3.5 by 5 or that, I set my scanner to just scan that, and then I don't have to do as much cropping either. Okay?
So the different style photos jam up in the feeder?
No, the feeder of the printer, they're made so if you've ever used like a copy machine, it's the same mechanism. They're made to grab the small photo and push it through correctly there. Now, if they're really old photos and they have bent up edges and things like that, those you might have to do those one at a time. But you'll find out in a hurry whether if the automatic feeder will work for your photos or not work, because it'll jam, and then the solution if it jams is feed them in one at a time, scan it, feed the next one in, or put the next one in, scan it, and so you'll be doing it manually. It's a little bit slower, but it's not that much slower. Okay. Be careful with slides and negatives. You don't want to scratch them. I ran into some problems with some old Ektachrome slides. Ektachrome was a new way to do color back in the 60s, and they had faded and had spots, and I had some trouble with there, but I ended up converting them to black and white, and then they looked pretty good there and that. So you'll see there's ways to save some of these old images that you may have, or old slides and that. So these are some tips on editing and organizing. You can use many packages to edit and organize your images. They range in price from free to $500 for these different packages. I use the free software, Google Picasa. I find it very fast, easy to use, and provides very good editing and organizing tools. Google actually retired Picasa close to 6 years ago, so it's no longer being updated, but it still does work, and like I say, I haven't found anything better that's free there, so I continue to use it. You can do most everything that I'll show today, and certainly you can edit pictures and that using the free software that comes from Microsoft Windows. Their package is called Microsoft Photos. That'll work well. And also, if you have a Macintosh, on your Macintosh you have Apple Photos, and that'll work almost as well as Picasa there. It's just I have used Picasa over the years, and it does have some features and functions that you might not find in Microsoft Photos or Apple Photos. Also, there's software on your laptop or PC, but there's also websites that'll let you do editing and organizing. So there's sites like Google Photos or Adobe Lightroom. Adobe Lightroom is an option if you're a more advanced photographer. It will give you unlimited photo storage for free, and it will let you do advanced editing, and that's $120 a year. So these are the things that I usually do after I've scanned the images, and the images may have been scanned, so I may have scanned photographs, or I may have scanned slides or negatives. After I've scanned them in, I bring them into my package on my PC, and I look to see, because if I had taken a photo like this, well, I have to rotate it. So I scanned it this direction. I have to rotate it to get it in the right direction there. So I usually rotate it, and I check to see whether I have to straighten it. So if it didn't come in exactly perfect or that within the package, I can straighten it. I can crop it. Go through and crop, especially if there's unneeded parts in the image. There's no sense keeping a lot of space, whether it's sky or carpet or road or whatever. Now's your chance to kind of improve the photo there. So I can do that. And then within Picasa, it has a feature for automatically correcting the color and the contrast. And that particular function is called I'm Feeling Lucky, and that automatically adjusts it for you. So it usually does a very good job. In addition, you could sharpen some of the stuff. So some of the packages have an option to make them a little bit sharper if they aren't very good. Or if they were old black and white, you can convert them to make look even older there or that. So there's options that you can do. If it's a photo from the 70s and 80s, a number of those Instamatic cameras and that caused red eye. So you have the red eyes of the people there. These packages will let you get rid of the red eyes, and so then people won't look like they're the devil there staring. So again, these are things that you can do as you're cleaning it up. Then also I go through and do what's called a people scan, which looks at the faces on the photos and tries to identify the people. And it usually does a fairly good job, but I may have to manually add people or tell it these are people in the photo. But now I'm kind of organizing it by telling it that these people are in each photo. It's going to make it easier for me to search and to find people there. If the image still needs work, then I'll use some other tools that also are available. Then I continue on to the next photo. So let's bring up Google here. Let me go here. Let's see if we could find. Go here. So these are some images that I've old photos in that. So this is a photo that I had scanned in on my printer there, and so we're talking about what I usually do. So the first thing I do is I rotate it. In this case, I rotate it to go the proper direction there. Then I look to crop it, and in this case we've got a lot of carpet up here. So let's go in and I'll crop this. This is my sister and her husband, Gary, over there, actually. This is probably from mid-70s, 1970. And so I've cropped it. Yeah. So this is and I mentioned it, it's colors fade in photos and in slides and things like that. So the color is faded here, but I can bring that back. I can do this, I'm feeling lucky here. And you can see it adjusts the color, makes it a little brighter, adds it in. And then if I wanted to, I can go here and I can add people and I can identify who this person is. So I can do that. And so I'd go through there. Then I'd go to the next photo. And here's one of my brother and dog my mother had. You can see the color again is a little bit off. I don't have to rotate it. I probably don't have to crop anything here, but let's fix the color. You can see this is the fun part about it. You're taking some of these old photos that aren't in the best quality and you're improving the quality there. So that's why I say I really enjoy doing this part of it just to see how good the photo is going to look there. And so we change the color and that, and you go through one by one. So here's a photo here, and you think this, is almost completely washed out. This is probably from a 126 camera. The photo is over the years is had too much sun or the colors have gone, but what I can do here is, first let's go through. I'm going to go through here and crop it. So this is an example. This photo is a different size than the other ones, but when I was scanning, I was just scanning a bunch of them in a pack. And so here I'm going to resize this. Oh, I cut off there. Let's cut that. So there I've cropped it. Now I can go, I'm feeling lucky. Yeah, so you know, here was a photo that if you saw it in the album, you could hardly recognize anyone in the photo or anything. Now you can see we've got something that's usable there. So it is, like I say, I enjoy doing this, bringing back to life these photos. Here's a handsome guy from grade school. This is myself, school picture. Now this I'm showing here, I can straighten it. So the photo is a little bit crooked here, and I purposely scanned it crooked there, but I can go in here, I can straighten it. You see, I'm straightening it. We'll go in here, I can crop it. So we're going to crop this. Cropped it. Let's do the I'm feeling lucky. We got our colors back, and that's pretty darn good. One of the things, though, if let's go in here. So I've blown it up. You can see there is a little hair or lint or something up here. Well, with this particular tool, I can actually get rid of that. I can go here. I can do this. Let's get rid of that. I can go down here. There's some lint on a sweater here. I can go in here. Let's do this, apply. And now we've gotten rid of. And you can see in a few seconds, I can take a photograph that may have had lint on, may have had problems. And in fact, just this last weekend, my sister gave a photograph or showed a photograph to my dad of that was from when she was probably 3 years old or 4 years old, sitting on Daddy's lap. And it had a chunk of the photo taken out. It had a couple of chunks taken out. Well, I went in and edited it and filled in those pieces there and did other things to the photo, and you'd never know that it was the same photo. And all it took was just literally a few minutes there of using some of these tools here. So these were photos that I had scanned in. These are slides that I had scanned in, and the slide quality is excellent. If I blow this up, well, we can see, oh, there's a piece of lint. Again, you want to clean them as much as you can, but if you don't get it perfectly clean or stuff like that, you can go in and manipulate and get rid of some of this stuff. And then we can do the I feel lucky and fix things. So you can go through any of these. Here's this is up at St. John's Abbey. I'm a Johnny there, and this is a monk out on the dock there. But we can fix the colors there a little bit. So you can take all these different images that you have and really improve them there. Let's go here. This is an image of one of my nephews from a Super 8. And Super 8, if you're familiar, is really small film there. So you can take pictures off of a Super 8, but you can see it's kind of grainy and stuff like that. We can't fix this too much, but if it's the only picture you have or something like that, you still might want to keep this picture and fix it as much as you can. So that's how editing those slides and those photos and things like that. Let's go back here. The other thing that I'll do is within the last few years, there's been the option to convert old black and white photos to color. And in 2020, the site MyHeritage, which is a family genealogy service, offered free unlimited access to convert or sharpen your black and white photos to color. And they did that for several months. Now they sell the service, so you have to buy a subscription, but colorizing photos makes them look better and can invoke more of an emotion than a black and white because they appear more natural. and the examples can look great. I personally have a free account. Again, I'm thrifty, not cheap there. I have a free account on MyHeritage, and I use it, and I've talked about it in the past for doing family tree and genealogy stuff. But they created this service, and this service is trained on millions of images where it uses technology called deep learning and artificial intelligence to identify living and non-living objects on your photograph, and then try and determine, well, this is the sky, skies are usually blue, this is grass, grass is usually green, this is bricks, bricks are usually brown, things like that, to determine how to colorize it. In the past, if you wanted somebody to colorize an old photo, it could take them hours or days to do, because they'd have to individually go through on the photograph, even with these tools, and identify each area and manually change the color in each area. Now these tools, like I say, I did literally thousands of images for free, and it does it in a matter of seconds. You upload your image to the service, it works the magic in seconds, and then you can download the colored image. I did run into a small percent of photos that didn't convert well. This free version, when they had it, it added a watermark on the photo that says MyHeritage. But personally, I love the results there. They also have a service to remove scratches and to animate a short video of a person. So we'll take a look at some of those in Google Photos. So this is an example here of, I think they're my great-great-great-great-great-grandparents from roughly 1880. This is a photograph of the two of them that I had digitized. Then I ran it through the color, and this is the color there. And you know, if we blow it up big, you can see the face is nice and sharp, and to me, it's really nice there. This is a 50th wedding anniversary, and this was taken in 1938. This is my mother down here, and my grandmother here, and grandfather. And it's a nice photo. It's a nice photo of the people, but have it in color just makes it that much better there. And you can see it, the vines it made green, and it just did a really good job there. This is my mother and father, their wedding photos. So my dad over there, so my mother and father there, and colorized it, and this is what it looks like color. And again, that very good quality. The only thing that's probably a little bit off is I asked him, I said, well, did you have a red tie? And no, we didn't have a red tie. It was a black tie, but when it went through and colorized it, I think it didn't want to use black. It just chose that color there. But it's kind of does a good job. Here's a picture of my sister. This is me over here on the left, and my brother. Again, old black and white photo there. And actually, that's a photo that I have right here. This is the photo there that was scanned in. And this is what it looks like colorized. So you can take some of these old photos, and it's just remarkable what it can do with it and bring them to life. Now, speaking of bringing them to life, this is an example of one of the services that they have. This is my grandmother and her husband there. This is from 1924, and there's a service, or one of the services at this MyHeritage site will take the headshot of the person here and make a movie out of it. So these two people are dead. There never was a movie taken of this, but it'll make a movie out of their head here. And let's take a look at that if I can pull it up. Oh, excuse me here. So what it did is it took the head there, and now what it'll do is it made a 13-second movie of it. Where the head kind of moves a little, and no voice obviously, but and it does it to everybody in the picture. So there's my grandmother there. Personally, I don't use it because I find it creepy. Okay. But it is a service that they have out there, and let me do this too. Let's go. Where am I here? So they have this service out on the MyHeritage site for where you upload the photo, and just off of the photo, it grabs the face, it animates it, so you can do that. It also has a service called Deep Story. And Deep Story is this they just recently came out with. You, again, scan in an image from an old photograph or that, and then you can make kind of a slideshow of your family history, and you can have this person animate it for you. So let's pull up one of the examples. I don't personally use it, but like I say, you can.
Hi, my name is Edgar Ludwig Carlson. Let me tell you the story of my life. I was born on July 5, 1897, in the small town of Newcastle, Pennsylvania. My father, Lars Christian Carlson, was born in 1871 in Eskilstuna, Sweden. My mother, Ingrid Wetterström, came from Eskilstuna, also in Sweden. They married in 1896 in Lindesberg. A year later they immigrated to the United States on board the Urania, traveling from Liverpool to Ellis Island. I had 3 brothers and sisters. I was the eldest. Then came Parker, whom everyone called Bear because he was so strong. Olivia, commonly known as Bunny for her cuteness, and my youngest sister Catherine, whose nickname was Scatterbrain because, well, you know. I married the love of my life, Teresa Macmillan, in 1925. We had 3 beautiful children, all of them born in Akron, Pennsylvania. Twins Albert and Bernard arrived on May 22, 1926, and took us by surprise as we did not expect the both of them. That was a day to remember. My youngest, Martha, was born 2 years later, in 1928. All in all, they gave me 11 grandchildren whom I loved very much. I worked as a haberdasher, selling men's clothing at Woolworths. I guess this is the reason I was always considered a fashionable man of good taste. There are so many more memories to share, but I'm glad I got to tell you my story. Thanks for listening.
So there's an example of once you digitize some of your images, you can utilize some of these services to put through slideshows, animate people that are now deceased or that you never had a movie of or anything. So there's a lot of different capabilities that you can do once you have digitized some of this stuff. Let's go here. So in addition to editing, so the editing, we cleared up things, we rotated it the right direction and stuff like that. The other thing that you want to do with this stuff is rename the names of the files, and I'm giving suggestions, or put the year and the month and the day, if you can, on when the picture was taken to help you organize. And then on these images, when you do digitize them, they're going to have today's date as when they were scanned. And if you're looking to organize them, you really want the date when the photograph was taken. So again, there's ways to change that date so that when people are looking at the photographs, it'll show up in the right year. GPS location. The new phones and that, when you take a picture, it'll identify where you were. Well, you can actually identify these old photographs too, and so you can go and identify the location. That makes it easier in the future if you are saying, well, I want to look at some pictures from my hometown, you can just go out to that location and it'll show you all the pictures that were taken in your hometown. And then to group the images, you can group them by folder or by album. So when you first start out, you may keep them in the original. If you had them in albums as you were scanning them, you may keep them in albums that are geared and named according to what you had organized them. So if you had some from This is Christmas 1974, whatever, you can call it whatever, and you can choose whatever organization works for you. All these edits that I was doing, colorizing and doing some of these things, in Picasa, they aren't saved and aren't shown in other packages. I have to do what's called an export to export them. Then I can load them up to websites, or I can use them in any other package. So that may be an extra step that you have to do. And then here I mentioned moving the exported photos up to a site like Google Photos to share it. And you want to make sure that you back up your images. So as you're putting in time scanning them and sharing them and organizing and adding this information, you certainly don't want to lose, or if somebody stole your laptop or that, you don't want to lose all those photos. So you want to make sure that they're backed up and available. And you can back them up out on Google, or if you have Apple products on the Apple iCloud, or if you have Amazon Prime members can upload an unlimited number of photos for free. I mentioned I use Google Photos. Let's just take a quick look out here if I can find. Okay. So this is Google Photos. I've put these albums out on Google Photos, and I've shared them with family and friends, and I've sent them links, and I've organized them by year. So here's the photos from 1800 to 1929. You can go through, and there's the one I was showing that was colorized. Again, I can go through, I can create slideshows. So it's people can bring them up at any time, share them. I can jump to any year. If I wanted to jump to, let's say, 1959, let's go to 1959. And there's myself and my brother and my sister. And there's the photo there that we colorized. Got other photos of the kids there. You can see these had been written on with a ballpoint pen, but hey, it is what it is there. But organize the stuff and sharing, the ability then to share. So instead of it being in one album that one person has, literally 100 people can be looking at these at any time on any of the devices. I can look at these pictures on my phone, on a tablet, on a laptop, on just about anything there. So it's a real advantage to have them digitized there. Let's go back here. Okay, this I mentioned possibly having a scan clinic here at 3M. So if people are interested, I don't know if I'd bring in my my printer or not, but we might have you sign up for that, and you could bring your photos or slides, and I could scan a bunch of them for free. So again, I don't charge for things there, but it's something that if there is interest and you do have some that you'd like to see converted, I could get you started with converting. I can't organize the stuff for you, so all I could do is digitize it and clean it up and that, but I can't tell who the relatives on your pictures are, or maybe figure out the year or things like that. Those are things that you'd have to do. Any questions or comments there? Yes.
This is the problem with anything relating to computers, but So you save all these wonderful things that you've done on a computer or a hard drive or something, and 5 years from now, the technology changes. What, I mean, how transferable would this stuff be to something new if necessary?
Actually, yeah, I'll repeat the question for the people either on the TV or that look at the video. You convert all of this stuff and technology changes, which it always does. How does that fit into 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Well, to give you an idea, when I started this years ago, I was scanning and I was doing stuff, and it was basically on my computer. There were no Google Photos. There was no sites to put this stuff out on. And what I was doing at that time is I was putting the images on CDs and DVDs, if you remember those. Well, as soon as something better came along, which is good, these better things come along, the CDs and DVDs, I would make copies for my sister and my brother and my dad. But really, only people that I gave a copy to would have access to it. Plus, they had to put it in their DVD player, they had to turn on their TV, they had to, do this to look at the pictures. Technology moves forward. Now I could put them out on the internet and I could share them with anybody with any device. So to tell you the truth, I don't know how it could get any better. As far as sharing, I can share it. Will the technology to do scanning improve? Yes, scanning has improved very much in the 20 years and that from when I started, but I don't have to go back and rescan because the quality that I have is good enough for what I'm using it for and everything. So you're not wasting your time doing things. If you put them out there and this Google Photos, you'd want to make sure that somebody in the family has access to that. So if you passed away, you wouldn't want to lose those photos or people to lose access to them. But those photos will be those photos out there for eternity, for anyone to look at, to maybe add stuff to. So you can always add stuff to these photos, identify additional people, add a story. Maybe you create one of those slideshows like the deal did. All kinds of things can be done, which is kind of exciting for keeping these old photos and things alive there. Does that answer it? Or any other questions or comments? Like I talked about at the beginning, it seems like a daunting task, and everybody that I talk to about photos says, well, I've got so many, or I've got these albums, or, and I said, you want to digitize it, you want to do this stuff now, today, because the longer you wait, unfortunately, people die, memories aren't there. So if you start getting it out there and start sharing it with people, you'll have a better chance to fill in more information about the photos, when they were, who was in there, things like that. And that journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, begins with the first album, and it's not going to happen magically. It does take a little effort to go through and do it. But I've found it so rewarding to get the stuff out there. And everybody that I show it to and that, everybody enjoys it. And if they go, they go, how did you have so many photographs? Well, people underestimate the number of photos that they have. And especially if you start asking friends and relatives. Because if you say to the friends and relatives, can I borrow an album here for a couple of weeks? You take their album and you digitize it. Now you can give them back their photo album. Well, you've got all those images and all those memories in there. So it to me it is exciting and fun to do. Any other question or comment? Oh, thanks for coming there. And if you do have any other questions, I put my contact information. Or if you do have some slides or photos that you'd like to, I can digitize them for you there. I'm not going to do 15,000, but I can get you started and get stuff. So just let me know if you are interested. But thanks for coming.